Football at 4 here on The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Every day at 4, you can set your watch by it. We're talking about football. And today, we started it yesterday, a 10-day countdown. It's actually a 10-show countdown because it's 13 days away to the NFL draft.
Jeez, really?
Which I'm sometimes I'm leery of doing live math on air because I've embarrassed myself that way.
It's okay.
But when it's a basic, it's the 25th. I know that is when the draft starts, and today is the 12th. I think I can do that kind of subtraction. We're looking at 13 days away. We have 9 shows left until the NFL draft. So each day we are grabbing one position group for the Panthers and looking at where they stand, how they've improved this offseason, and if there is something that we can expect them to do at that position in the draft. Yesterday we did interior offensive line. Today, no one calls it the exterior offensive line. You just call it tackles.
Bookends.
But we're looking at the tackles, the exterior offensive line. The Panthers are they could not be more different at right and left tackle. They're steady at right tackle. They're risky at left tackle. They are veteran, highly paid on one, rookie contract, highly drafted on the other. They are Taylor Moton at right tackle, Ike Ekwonu at left tackle. So Taylor Moton being the steady Eddie, you know what you're going to get when he's healthy. You can depend on him. Ike Ekwonu is the goodness. I hope this guy plays 110% better than he played a season ago. And if so, that can unlock new levels of the offense. If he plays like he did last year, even if you improve in other parts of the offense, you may not be able to see that, right? We've already seen them make improvements at wide receiver with Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson is getting open downfield, which would be a new thing for a wide receiver for the Panthers, but Bryce Young is on his back because Ike Ekwonu whiffed on his blind side. Then you just have an open wide receiver who's grading out well on film, but not actually making any catches. So that's where they stand. That's the difference they've made this offseason is they signed Yosh Nijman as a backup swing tackle. So if one of them goes down, they're likely backed up by the same guy. The hard part, and I say this about really just 2 positions in the NFL. The hard part about finding elite tackles is that everyone is looking for elite tackles. There are not 32 elite blindside protectors on planet Earth at any given time. There are 32 teams that need 1 and 32 teams that want 2. So if there is a team out there that has an elite right and left tackle, check it off. That's another one there's another team out there that doesn't even have a blindside protector. So when it comes to looking at drafting tackles, what you have to acknowledge is this is a very deep tackle draft. If you listen to the experts, if you pay attention to the people that you trust that cover draft prospects, they'll tell you this is a very deep draft at wide receiver and offensive tackle. Everyone is looking for an elite offensive tackle. So if there's 12 of them that might be elite, there's going to be 12 drafted pretty darn quickly. So I'm leery to think that there's anyone a plug and play that'll be available even at 33, which is the first pick the Panthers have right now, the 33rd overall pick, the first pick of the second round. And even if there was, I'm not sure the Panthers don't have more pressing needs elsewhere to trump the need for a left tackle. So it's a deep tackle draft. I don't think they can justify taking one in the 33rd or 39th pick. Best thing they can do to help their team on the edges of the offensive line could be a lottery ticket at the end of the draft where you draft someone on measurables. You say they're 6'7", 310 and run a fast 40, even though their tape doesn't look great, and or vice versa. This is going to sound ridiculous, undersized at 6'4", 300 and have great tape. Like you're finding somebody who everyone else is passing on for a reason, and you're hoping that reason gets developed out of them over years. That, to me, isn't how the Panthers have been acting this offseason. The Panthers are not acting as if this upcoming year is a rebuilding year. They're kind of going for it. The Jadeveon Clowney signing is not one that's going to make them better in 2027. That's one that makes them better in 2025. All kind of up and down the defense, they've been making deals like that where it's, okay, this makes you better next year rather than 3-4 years into the future, rather than like, hey, by the time we're paying Bryce Young a bunch of money, we're going to need to be locked and loaded everywhere else. I don't see them changing their tackles very much between now and the beginning of training camp, which means this draft is going to be one where they have 7 picks, none in the first round. And there's a lot of, well, it could be a tackle, but it's not. And then the next one, well, it could be a tackle because it's a deep tackle draft and everyone's going to be talking about the best on the board, best available. And they're going to have to go with wide receivers. They're going to have to go with a tight end at some point. They're going to have to go with corners. They're going to have to go with safeties. And it's like, if you told me number 3 on their list for every pick was a tackle, where they're like, 2 or 3 picks before theirs. All right, number 1 is this guy if he makes it. Number 2 is this guy if he makes it. Number 3 might be a tackle on every single pick, and they might not take a tackle for the entirety of the NFL draft. It's for better or worse, the hay is in the barn, which means Ike Ekwonu he's Atlas right now, right? He's those statues of Atlas with the whole world on his shoulders.
Yes.
It's the offense is either going to be significantly better than it was last year, because I like Dave Canales as a play caller. I already like their talent at wide receiver more, and I think they'll add 2 playmakers in the draft. Or it's going to be the exact same, despite everything I just said, because Ike Ekwonu is holding them back at left tackle.
Show the success now, and I'm gonna add on to your argument and support it just a little bit more. So
I love this kind of add-on.
Well, and this is the only way I can do it, because I'm hearing it and I'm leaning the way you're doing it. So the way Dave Canales and Dan Morgan have built this team, certainly with the signings in the offseason, what is the best contract in the NFL to have right now? It's having your quarterback on a rookie deal. So you're spending all the money in the next couple of seasons here, 2, 3, and 4, while your quarterback, as you think Dave Canales is the guy, and he told you, Bryce Young's my guy. We're going to work on the footwork. We're going to make sure that we bring in the 2 tackles, Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, to give him that. I believe I kept calling it 0.4. The extra 0.4 seconds he needs to operate. We go get him a speedy receiver. We like what we've got coming back. We're going to spend all this money in years 2, 3, and 4, like you mentioned, to Davion Clowney, to make that happen now, not 2 or 3 years from now, because he's 2 or 3 years older. Count on him being healthy and win in a division that everyone keeps going. It's not the greatest division in the history of divisions. There's been a lot of money spent, Tim, on quarterbacks in the NFC South, not on the other positions.
Exactly. I was just going to jump in when you said everybody keeps saying the division is bad. I said, well, if their last name's Mayfield, they think there's a pretty
Mike
big
Evans.
contender out there.
Okay.
I mean, that's who won this past year, and I don't think anyone is afraid of the Bucs. At least you shouldn't be if you're an NFL anything, because I think they're gettable. And the Saints are having their own problems. Kirk Cousins with the Falcons might be the biggest kind of maybe this turns into something card. I was going to say wild card, but I have a hard time calling Kirk Cousins wild. So it's like the biggest boring card. I mean, you're exactly right. Right. You build up the whole thing, and you can watch it happen in real time of the well-run organizations where you have your quarterback on a rookie contract. You pay a bunch of guys a bunch of money around him that you're not paying the quarterback. Then once you pay the quarterback, you have to start taking things away one at a time, right? You have Patrick Mahomes on a rookie contract, and we'll use the Chiefs as the best run organization recently. They have the trophies to prove it. And you have Kelsey, and you have Hill, and you have MVS, and you have a herd of running backs, even if they all aren't great. A couple offensive linemen. Wiley is like a backup. Then you pay Patrick Mahomes a whole bunch of money. Take away Tyreek Hill. Can he still do it? Okay, what if we give him a 7th-round rookie running back? Can he still do it? That's Isaiah Pacheco. What if we take away Wiley as the backup offensive lineman? What if we take away this guy as the offensive lineman? Can he still do it? And, of course, every time Patrick Mahomes is asked, can he still do it, he said yes. But that's the life cycle. So right now the Panthers are in the part where he's supposed to have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and MVS and Juju Smith-Schuster. And, he's supposed to have everything around him right now before you start seeing if he can't. The Panthers started him off with, what if we gave him nothing? Can he do it? And he went, no. Or kind of, I guess would be the answer there. The interesting part is in this big spending spree, they spent interior offensive linemen, and they're going to spend wide receiver. We're pretty confident of that, at least in the draft. They didn't spend on left tackle, which the previous organization, previous regime, the Scott Fitter other side of it, they did on Ike Ekwonu. So the bet, even by this new regime, is still on Ike to be the guy. It's still, and I said this on the air a couple days ago, you have to place your bet somewhere. You can't have a sure thing at every single position as much as you'd like to be. You'd have to place your bet somewhere. They're placing a pretty big bet on Ike Ekwonu being much better, particularly in pass protection, because he's a road grader. He can move guys against their will in a directly back orientation, right? Like direction. That's run blocking. Pass protection, he's not as great, particularly the communication of it all. So they're making a pretty big bet that he's going to be able to make it happen. And I don't think they're going to give him help in a draft pick. I don't think they're going to give him a safety net.